think we're live. I think. Hello, friends. Does everything sound okay? Music, my voice, screen, usual stuff. Let's get a life check on all of that. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm a bit quiet? Okay, let me fix that. Right, that should be better. Audio better? Perfect. Yes, better. Much better. Nice. Nice. Awesome. I'll keep that then. I see Elon wants to start things off predictably and tweet about Bitcoin. For those unaware, there we are. BTC, Bitcoin, is an anagram of TBC, the Boring Company. What a coincidence. Both do mining and use blocks and chain. Yeah, I mean... My friend Elon, yeah. His tweets no longer pump. I don't think this is a pump type of tweet. I mean, it's pretty difficult to compare Tesla investing whatever amount it was into Bitcoin versus this type of shitpost, you know? He's probably just bored, man. Okay, sweet. First things first. Hope everyone is having a nice week with the weekend ahead of us, although in crypto that means nothing, so there's always that. Second of all, thank you to Blockfolio for sponsoring Technical Roundup. We'll have some cool stuff that we can offer you with regard to the Blockfolio app coming soon. For now, thank you for their support, and be sure to check out the mobile app. I use it. The Duck had to play around with it. There are some really cool features, and again, more stuff coming on that, but thank you to Blockfolio. And yeah, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you haven't already, follow Roundup Crypto on Twitter. Let's get some meme engagement on the corporate account, if you will. And also, in quite cool news, we're now on Spotify, for those of you who want to listen during your walks, commutes, even though that's a thing of the past, I guess. You know, if you're a Spotify type of person, the two most recent interviews, podcasty things we had with Max Bornan and Larry Cermak, those are up on Spotify. So be sure to, you know, if that's your cup of tea, you can drink it now. And yeah, the premise of this live stream, I said in the Monday session that if we reached, I think it was 400 likes, although obviously that target was just much too low, that we'll do one of these catch-up sessions, a fourth video for the week, where we'll just go through a bunch of your shitcoins. Because it's always difficult to try to adhere to all of the requests in real time, so to speak. You know, we only have an hour. Typically, we want to do Bitcoin, ETH, like the big stuff. So a lot of the time, we just can't chart everything. So this is what that session's for. So you know what? Let's just bring all the pain train. Shill me your cash tags in the chat, and I'll do my best to do as many as I can. Just spam me. Give me them cash tags. Come on. Ideally on TradingView, obviously. Oh, my eyes hurt already from the chat. Here we go. All right. I think this warrants a new list. I assume most of you want it against BTC. Sorry, USD. Is there a HBAR USD? Okay, let's go with that. QKC. Where do you guys find some of these coins? I swear to God. Yeah, let's do that. Elf. Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a while. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let me know if it's BTC or USD, and repost it as well if you didn't clarify. I'm fine with it. So the goal here is to go through everything, like literally everything. I hope this doesn't take longer than like an hour and a half, but we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully you're merciful. Yeah, Haven, always interesting. Priya, that's probably not available. ETH, we obviously look at ETH. Block. Wow, that's an old coin. Phil, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna add as many of these as I can, and then we'll just straight up roll through them. You know? No rush. We'll look at Link, obviously. E-Gold, yeah. Что у нас еще тут? Sol, yeah, obviously. H-bar we've done. Nulls, I think we've done. ICX? Man, some of these coins, you're giving me your actual bags, aren't you? Oops. ICX. USDT? Yeah. BNB. Oh my god, we're still going. Ah, I'm in trouble. I don't feel so good. No, it's okay. It's okay. I signed up for this. Just bear with me. Might have to be a tiny bit slow. I'll get to you. Don't repost. That's the only thing I ask. If you repost, my life will likely end prematurely. So avoiding that would be sick. Yeah, XRP, USDT, Eng, BTC. And I'm going to try to make it somewhat interesting. Like the format that I thought I would do is kind of, if one of my close friends asked me, like, you know, I went all in this project, what do you think? You know, so I'm going to treat it in those terms. Yeah. KSM, of course. Oops. KSM USDT. Yeah. GLM USD. Is that Golem? No, it's not Golem. It's not Golem. I don't even remember Golem, that shitcoin. ADA, yeah, of course. Rune, yeah, certainly. Where did that go? Yeah, okay. TVK, is that on TradingView? I don't think so. I have to skip the non-TradingView stuff. I know it's like available, but you know, we have to have some sort of limitations or standards. ZEC, of course. Coty USDT. Yeah. DCR BTC. Yeah. Wing. That looks right. XRP. We've got Sia coin. I mean, yeah, okay. Ren. And Ren USDT as well. I'm working through, don't worry. 1 inch perp. SXP, I think we've got. KSM USDT, pretty sure we've got. Yeah. Donald, yeah, for sure. Aave perp, certainly. Atom, I think Atom has interesting charts. Atom perp. Dot, of course. Sushi, yeah, no doubt. I'm gonna have a really fun Friday night. This is the dream, right? Independent trader, you know, bull market, and this is what a Friday night looks like. Theta, certainly. Yeah, probably against Bitcoin as well, I imagine. RSR, that's yeah, okay. KNC, I think we've added. If not, I'll come back to it. Atom, we've added. TUSD, we've added. I think we're roughly around here. Loom USDT. Oh, no. Loom BTC? Yeah, why not? I feel bad for you already. Thank you, Jeremy. I feel bad for myself as well. Ligma. Yeah, Ligma for sure. That's a great coin. VTC. Oh my god, that thing still exists. UTK USDT, of course. FTT, happily. Band, you bet. Orn, yeah. I'm gonna learn so much about all these new fantastic promising projects, I'm sure. DGB, yeah, H-bar is on. CHZ, yeah, been hearing a bit about that. Cred USDT, lol. Matic, yes. Reef USDT, didn't I get a bit of investment today from Alameda? UMA, UMA. Ooh. UMA? Elon USD. Haha. BAL BTC. You know what? It's going to be funny. The whole live stream is going to be me writing down these tickers. And it's like, okay, we'll go through them next week. At this rate, at least. I think we're coming towards the end. I hope. Where were we? ICUP BTC. Nice. We like those. I think we've added BNB. Leviathan says just go alphabetically through all of crypto at this point. I tend to agree. Atom, yeah, we've got it. Got those. ETC, yeah, okay. ETC USDT. Yeah, let's do that. Lena beat. Is that? I mean, I can try. GRT, yeah, why not? Rook, we'll take a look. Zek, we've got GRT, we've got BNB. Did I not add BNB? I'm pretty sure I have, but whatever, I'll add it again. Okay, let's start here. Let's let's actually make some progress, and then if I missed it, we can go through it again. Okay? And for the sake of fairness, we'll go through in alphabetical order. Okay, here we go. Oh my god. Oh, like my internet is bad. I can't do it. All right, let's have a chat. 1 inch against USD. So a lot of the DeFi coins, as we discussed on Monday. Yeah, I think I had a dodo, didn't I? So a lot of the DeFi stuff broke down and then retested its breakdown. And the really good setups in those cases come on meaningful reclaims of those levels or at much lower prices, right? So for now on 1 inch, like market structure on the daily time frame, you get lower highs and lower lows pretty much. High, low, lower high. So market structure needs some fixing. But what you can do for a lot of these pairs, I'm sure, certainly if the sectors look similar or correlated, is find where the breakdown took place, the biggest one which shifted market structure in the first place, and then just kind of work backwards. Where did that break, or what was the origin of that breakdown? And we could just draw this whole little boxy boy, previous support, currently acting as resistance, and essentially argue that when the breakdown point gets reclaimed, that means the sellers are trapped, or the market looks strong, having reestablished itself at the level where it broke down from in the first place. And then the good thing about a lot of these DeFi setups is the all-time high isn't that likely to be resistance. So the risk reward isn't as quote-unquote bad as it looks, because you'd really expect extension through the all-time high if the market's that bullish, right? So in this case, at around $5 is where the breakdown took place, currently acting as resistance. You want to see strength through that, ideally up through the upper boundary, and then it's a question of how much of a pullback do you get to optimize risk reward within that structure, and then you target, again, the highs and the overextension through it. For DeFi generally, the round numbers work quite well, like $4, $5, $6, $7, you know, the round figures, whatever. So that's something to pay attention to. So for now, not a whole lot going on. I mean, this is your range. You've got resistance up here and support closer to like $3.50. But there's a ton of like opportunity cost is pretty important in the market that looks like this. So unless it's really showing strength, there's no point being stuck in a range bound type of instrument from a trading point of view, at least. What's the name of Cred's podcast on Spotify? It's the same. It's Technical Roundup. Oh my god, you spammy little boy. Get the fuck out of here. Thank you. Aave. So yeah, this was one of those reclaim setups which didn't do shit, which unfortunately means more chop. So that was the attempt to reclaim 420, closed above, closed below. The idea of the reclaim became invalid at this point. So not too far away from the level, but still kind of sucks. So to me, it suggests more chop for the time being, with the range high still being within around 420-ish. Again, if you use the whole box, I mean, maybe you can get a more conservative picture that never really broke out, and support closer to, I don't really love any of this, probably back at 300-ish. So this seems to be the range. Tried to reclaim, didn't lead to shit, and usually when you get a failed reclaim in a market that still looks strong, just means you have to range for longer or chop around. So that's Aave. So ADA USDT, hasn't really done much for now. I mean, look how much this thing's just gone up a lot, right? And technically, there's been no lower low or break in market structure quite yet. I mean, you could arguably use this as a break in market structure. It's not my favorite. To be completely honest with you, when it comes to Cardano, I think the Bitcoin pair just is likely to give better information, because there's this weekly, or was, I suppose, this weekly retest going on, or monthly retest. Yeah, there was this monthly retest going on the former range low, and it still has time, right? But I mean, this is still an area on the weekly. I think above 2200, it looks good for continuation towards 3700. Also, I know the Satoshi numbers are fucked up because Binance rounds to one figure up or down, I don't remember. But the general logic still applies. Against Bitcoin, support 2k if you're using Binance's rounding, resistance at around 3.7k, but it's not doing its job at the moment, right? If we look at this level on the weekly, and I think the way we have it in Technical Roundup is we have the pre-breakdown consolidation. So I think it looks something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this would have been the bullish retest to send it higher towards the top of the range, but it's not doing its job at the moment. I mean, arguably you can sort of extend all the way to this low and say it's at support now. I don't mind it too much, but either way it would need to reclaim the consolidation above it to be bullish. And you can see evidence of that short-term breakdown when you look at the breakout level specifically. Previous resistance, market moons past it, you want to see support there, and you're not getting it at the moment. If it gets back above, maybe there's a case that like this is the monthly wick being formed, and then you trade higher. But for the time being, I'm not a huge fan of knife catching this with how it looks exactly at this time, right? So USD pair is kind of meh, not like a whole lot going on. It's just, I mean, look at it, right? It's just choppy. Definitely cooled off from its parabolic phase and has slowed down, and the BTC pair isn't reacting how you'd want at support for the time being. So that's ADA. Atom. I mean, ultimately, right, from a high time frame, whatever point of view, this is as weird as it may seem. This thing is just range bound, right? So when you look at a lot of altcoins against Bitcoin, certainly in the DeFi sector, they were trending really hard, right? So again, from an opportunity cost point of view, if you're gonna warrant or justify allocating more towards an altcoin over Bitcoin or ETH, you ideally want it to be trending, right? So BTC pair, I'd just say it's still range bound. There's not a whole lot that screams out to me. I don't mind. Like the decent support would be a retest of this consolidation before the uptrend breakout at around, where is that average, 2500 or thereabouts. But I'm not in love. Nothing screams at me with this BTC pair, right? And then on the USD side of things, it's sort of similar for the time being. Like you had the big breakout and the move that followed, and then now it's just consolidating for the time being. I can't see us. I mean, just looking at this doesn't scream setup to me for the time being. I suppose the high time frame pullback area to punt would be the origin of the breakout at around $10 or 9. Where is that? 9.5. If it comes back here, that's, I mean, the risk reward at that point, and just measuring from high to low, that's where the real big trend support is. But this range up here, and with the BTC pair being range bound as well, just doesn't excite me, so to speak. BAL BTC, this is Balancer, I think. Still range bound on the BTC pair. There's a lot of space if it actually manages to break out of the range high at around 10k. Again, this is Binance 10k, but it hasn't done so on the weekly time frame. So like outperformance relative to Bitcoin, likely to be triggered on a range breakout, which would look something like this. I'm not getting it at the moment, and your range low is here. So range bound BTC pair. We can look at BAL USDT, I think. No surprise, similar type of conclusion. Range high-ish, range low-ish. You want to do business on the break of the range high, ideally with the BTC pair looking decent as well, or a good entry at the range low. And then you also know if that breaks from value or whatever, then you probably want to get out of the way until it comes back to where it broke out from in the first place. So your range is between, what is that, 35 and 50-ish. That's your consolidation. If its ass falls out, knife catch type of area, close to 20. If the BTC pair looks good and DeFi just adds another leg higher, there's probably a range high break from balance type of play available. But right now, BTC pair consolidating, USD pair consolidating as well. I'm not gonna start making stuff up if it looks reasonably straightforward one way or another. Band. These chicks don't even know the name of my band. Where do these levels even come from? I'd be lying if I knew. Is it the daily? Could be the daily. No. Yeah, I think that is the daily actually. I think as long as it's staying above 10 and a half on the USD pair, that's like a really good level, which the market seems to like. You've got all the way coming back to prior lows here, a bunch of highs, and that's your support. This is one of those levels where if it breaks, and I mean breaks, right? Not like a wick below, whatever, but if the buyers don't want this, I'd probably step out of the way. It's likely to come at least into the prior breakout level, if not the higher time frame supports. That's one reasonable conclusion we can draw, right? Below $10, you've lost the best level, probably sucks. Where's the range right now? Well, it's that same level as support, right? 10.3 thereabouts, and then resistance is this former high area, right? You can see it's more going on there, turned resistance. So again, I mean, band is DeFi-ish, not 100% sure, but similar type of thing. You had an attempted breakout, didn't work, that's resistance, and then you've got a really good support at 10.3. This is your range. I'm sure you all know how to trade a range. Lucky entries at the range low. If it breaks, GG, right? Get the fuck out, let it do its thing. As for the bullish side, it already had one fake out, and it's quite rare that the market pushes above and then fakes out twice. So if it gets back above around 16, it's unlikely to be another one of these. It'll probably be a real breakout. So that's one to watch. Block BTC. Ay. Right. I mean, from a kind of macro, big picture, whatever type of bullshitty thing, you can just start coming up with arguments that it's like at its cycle low, right? So that's something, I suppose. But at the same time, you do sort of need to consider, or at least be conservative, because this thing has just been trending down and for weeks and weeks and weeks, like a multi-year downtrend, right? So if this thing's been trending down for so long, you kind of want to set higher standards for how do I know that it's bullish and not a trap? Because you're arguably getting trapped here. Like, you need to set some sort of higher standard to make sure that you don't fall for the same shit over again. I think a weekly higher high, unless there's something on the daily, no. I think a weekly higher high is probably the way to go in order to be reasonably sure that you're going to get some sort of bounce, which isn't going to get sold like the last 50 bounces. Maybe we take this market structure level here at around 2,500, right? Resistance, two highs. I don't really count this as a swing point. I was going to use this as the lower high and then you break it in reverse, but I don't really like it. Look, again, you've got this whole thing weighing against you, so you can. It's worth being a bit more conservative. If it breaks that, maybe either on a continuation or a break and then some sort of higher low play. That's your reversal model, but I know nothing about this project's fundamentals. All I can see is a return to the cycle low type of area following a multi-year downtrend. So bounces from this area, sure. Trend reversal, different game. Has to do more to prove that to me at least. This is how you get trapped bag holding, right? You get a big break in structure, and then every bounce you kind of just hope it's the one that bails you out. So probably worth avoiding that thinking and being a bit more conservative with these things. I'll add that. Is this helpful so far? Even if it's not your chart, does the kind of reasoning add some sort of value? If not, that sucks. Ideally it does. Let's get rid of this so far. BNB, obviously some news today about regulatory investigations, whatever type of deal, but it hasn't really done much to the market structurally. This is... Oh yeah, sorry, this is what I was going to say. This is one of those where the USD pair, like... Look, if I had to look at it, it's in an area of support, right? Lows, highs, and retesting that at the moment. I don't love it in terms of this specific level, but it's like at support nonetheless. Even on the daily time frame, you can kind of look at this prior breakout level. That's where the market is. So daily support on the USD pair. I think the BTC pair is also pretty important. You can kind of see where it's landed, and this is like the sort of mega bucks type of level here. So you've got this weekly swing high being retested as support, and this is one of those where the same logic applies, and if it breaks, get the fuck out the way, because the next level you've got is essentially here. Now that doesn't look like much, but if we have to measure that roughly in percentage terms from this level to that level, that's another like 40% drop. Right? So this is a very clear case of this needs to hold or the market dies, and so far it's holding. I mean, even on this regulatory stuff, it's doing a decent job, so I wouldn't sell support, if that makes sense. USD pair, support. BTC pair, support as well. Even with the news floating around, I wouldn't be selling into this level, personally. People are saying enable ticker in background, please. Can someone teach my old self how to do that? I've got no idea. Where? Settings. Watermark? Oh, sweet. Yeah, sure. Why not? It's your stream after all. Okay, BNB done. CHZ. Numbers going up a lot. Not going to get any high time frame context, it seems. So your best kind of hope with something that moves so quickly and just seems like it's going to go up forever, and has no interest in retesting lower time frame structure. Because again, look, if you're, let's say, a good trader, certainly in the parabolic leg, like when things were still kind of moving sideways-ish, you had chances on retests, right? The market was kind enough to offer them. But as soon as the parabolic leg starts, you know, is there a pullback? No. Is there a pullback? No. Is there a pullback? No. So you know, the playbook has to change because the market's just not generous enough at this point to allow you the type of entry that you want. So in those cases, your best bet, in my opinion, is either staying the fuck out and waiting for a higher time frame correction to kick in, or you buy the intraday nuke and pray that it's not the start of a higher time frame correction. So in this case, where is the nearest kind of intraday structure? Well, it's this whole consolidation, right? Market impulsed up, spent some time trading here, and now broken out. So retesting that, or this, is technically on the low time frame your closest entry. So again, if you're going to be slightly conservative, you'd pick the highest close and lowest close slightly further away from market, right? If you're aggressive, you move it up to the nearest breakout point. But this is the reason I really don't love trading charts that look like these in their extreme parabolic stage. I'd either have to wait for some sort of structure, which is this daily breakout level for me, but again, that's like a 50% correction, so maybe a no-go for some of you, or you basically gamble on low time frame nukes and hope that it's not the start of a high time frame pullback. That's what makes it tricky. COTI. So breakdown, trading lower, right? You had a loss of support more or less here. Market trading lower. I think this is your almost standard the market's breaking down, but I want to buy it model, whereby you either have to get involved at support on the nuke, right? So at this point, you've got the breakout area before the big leg up. If it comes back there, that's your first high time frame support. Or you wait for a reclaim of where the breakdown kind of came from, which is, if you want to be conservative, around 40k. So again, you've got high, low, lower high, lower low, you know, like it's a bearish break in market structure. But if you're still bullish this, you're either buying the nuke into structure or the reclaim of the bearishness. Right here, where it is right now, if you just look to the left, there's nothing going on here. So not the place for structure. Higher, yes. Lower, potentially. Right here, not really. And again, in terms where that is on the daily time frame will always vary to where it is on the intraday time frame. So if this is a high time frame pullback and you're buying like these interim levels, you probably get smoked. The first kind of meaningful daily structure is, again, where does price move sideways as opposed to diagonally? And for me, it's this 20k type of area. So that's the thing, right? There are no easy answers. Like with the other chart we had, you're either buying a pullback that's significant on the intraday, but not that visible on the daily, and the trade-off there is more likely to get filled, but could be a shit entry if the daily time frame kicks in to correct. Or you look to buy the daily support with the risk of you not getting a pullback if the market looks that strong. And that's always a trade-off you have to consider. For me personally, it depends on the context, but I'll generally avoid buying the intraday nukes, and I'll wait for the ones to form at daily structure to really get involved. But, you know, that's for your consideration. Wow, these are some old lines. This looks interesting, right? I mean, truth be told, right? Hold on. Is there a longer price history? There is, isn't it? I mean, this is a bit of a tricky level against Bitcoin because you're into its kind of area of resistance here, and it's just gone straight up, offering no pullbacks. So I think this is again one of those where if you wait for the level to break, right, then any sort of pullback or risk-defined opportunity looks a lot better above this level as opposed to into this level, and then you've got objectives probably like here, and then you just trade the old range. You trade the old range at that stage, right? Or you recognize this being as a bullish leg, and then you wait for the correction to form some sort of higher low. And for me, a reasonable area for that higher low to form would be here-ish. Okay, so you had low, high, lower high, lower low. Instead of a lower high, you actually went and made a higher high. So in that case, you get a lower low into a higher high. That's typically your bullish market structure reversal type of thing. So then you're expecting a higher low to form somewhere, but where? And in this case, it's this former high, which should have been resistance, and expecting it to act as support now. So either that type of pullback, and at least it's risk defined because you know there's no way it should be. Closing below this sucks. Trading below the low, at that point the market structure idea is dead. But with where it is right now against Bitcoin, it's into a pretty big area that I think is worth being conservative with. Either above it, good to go. Higher low pullback, also good to go. Into resistance, probably the least attractive option. Someone said Monero. Yeah, I can look at Monero. Phil. I think, does Binance have more history here? I don't remember. No, it's about the same. It's about the same. Looks fine. Like it's at short-term resistance. I mean, the market looks strong, right? But you've got short-term resistance here at this previous fake out level. So that's probably worth being aware of at around 45, wherever that lands. Let me actually add it. Daily resistance, 44.2. Or if you just want to use this consolidation as a little supply zone, if that's your cup of tea, that's fine as well. If it clears this area, probably good to go until wherever this comes in at 52. So there's a bit of space to catch there, around 20% from level to level. Where would it start to look a bit rough? I would say if it loses the support it's got in this current range, which is close to 40, it shouldn't really have a good reason to trade below that. So short-term range, support around 40, resistance more or less right now at around 44-ish. Strong daily close like through this area probably sends it into this close, and you don't want to see support lost at 40. The nuke type of knife catch entry is obviously at the breakout point here. That's the kind of thing you kind of hope doesn't happen if you're already in position or have a bag, because that's like a 50% haircut. FTT, I mean, FTT just goes up a lot, right? And it's kind of what it's doing right now. So the main test was, can it make a higher high? And it did. 35 is that level. Daily closes below would be kind of shitty in the short term. But even then, from a market structure point of view, I mean, look, this coin is like up only, so you need to assume it's bullish until proven otherwise. If it fails at 35, I wouldn't mind giving it a chance at 30 for a kind of higher low type of play, right? High, low, higher high. So then the question is, if you've got a higher low, same thing, where is it going to come in? Option number 1, at the continuation kind of breakout point. Option number 2, at previous support structure above the prior low. So FTT looks fine. Also, there's some ridiculous thing that I only found out not too long ago. If you stake, I think it's, how much is it? Is it like 14? No, it's some really trivial amount of FTT, and it takes away all the maker fees on FTX, which is crazy. So do that if you haven't already. Let's fix some of these up, and also make sure to like the video. Let's, you know, click some buttons to make my pain slightly more dull. GLM USD 25, yeah, how much? Yeah, 25 FTT, and the price of FTT, yeah, I mean, look, that's not a lot. If you trade almost anything, it's worth taking away that maker fee, so do it. Oh, Tron, someone asked, good point. Let's get to 200 likes, and I'll promise I'll sound more upbeat. No, Dot is on the list, we're just not there yet. We're just not there yet. GLM, I don't know what this is, and it's going up a lot, which is cool. I think, obviously, this isn't the most liquid or popularly traded instrument in the world. Actually, what am I talking about? It's calculated by TradingView. Of course, it's going to look like that. Is there a where do you trade this? Huobi? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was completely wrong. Like, sometimes when the wicks just look like that, it's because it's being calculated by TradingView as opposed to a pair that's actually being traded. Yeah, so, look. In this case... Wait, is that more price history, just to be sure? I wouldn't say there's like a... Yeah, I mean, arguably you've got an area of short-term resistance here, previous high, low, etc., or even just where this big breakdown came from. I'm sure you could even do something like that. So some resistance. For me personally, if my friend said, look, I'm really bullish GLM, but I want to get in on a pullback, where do you think is a good level? I'll just go here. That's it. Your big breakout. Lows, highs, mega moon, into a bit of a trouble area right now. If you get a pullback into there, that's probably your best opportunity, because anything below that, you're trading then back within this range, which you don't want. So some short-term resistance at the moment. If it nukes the breakout levels, where to punt. Anything else, I'd probably get the fuck out of the way. Oh, GLM is GRT. Is that where it comes from? Is it? I don't know. Let's look at GRT anyway. Gert, as Trader Main likes to say, this is one of those that has that DeFi pattern. Did I skip dot? I'll add dot. And someone asked E-Gold. As for Graph Token, oh, Uni, good one. Yeah, so this is one of those like quintessential, we looked at FIL, one of those quintessential DeFi type of, not coins, but structures. So you had a breakdown, they retested the breakdown, hasn't reclaimed it yet, right? So this type of deal, or if you want to be like supply zone type of side of things, you can just take this range high here. So I think the same model applies. In these cases, you want to be bullish back above resistance or on a high time frame nuke to support wherever that may be. So above, what is that, 220? If it makes a higher high through this, it's probably good to go. And again, your risk reward is always better than it seems because you're not expecting the all-time high to be resistance. So reclaim the breakdown point. You're good to go on the bullish side. There is some support within this range. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I'd rather buy up on quote-unquote confirmation or look to knife catch a nuke closer to $1 or thereabouts. So if it wants to come here on the nuke, happy days. If it wants to reclaim where it broke down from, happy days. Anything in between in this range, not so interested. H bar. This is up a lot. So again, if you're, it depends what type of correction you're trying to target. If you're targeting like a daily correction, then you always have to work backwards to where did price last move sideways, right? Even if it's for a little bit. And for me, it's this area generally, but specifically the breakout point here, right? Around 15 cents or thereabouts, and the origin, the origin of this most recent leg up. If it comes back there into these highs, that's a kind of good pullback, risk-defined punt. Now, that's where daily support is, and that's, you know, 40-50% away from price. So that's obviously that's not going to be satisfactory to someone who's bullish right now. Yeah, why don't you take a hike, mate? So daily correction, far away. So in that case, we have to go to intraday timeframes with less certainty and still look at where, do we have anything closer to market for some sort of pullback? And I think there is. I mean, the nearest level is the range low here at, what is that, 25 cents. This isn't a level that I typically rebuy. I still need, look, I've already ruled out that daily support is far away. It's like 50% pullback, whatever. Maybe it's too far. What if you're really bullish and you're like, I want to, even an intraday pullback will do. I think a decent bet is, well, I say a decent bet. The nearest structure, I don't know if it's a decent bet or not, is close to 20 cents here. So you had some resistance, you get this engulfing candle, which looks really scary, and then it gets completely engulfed, right? The bearish engulfing got engulfed. You usually get some decent levels when those types of reversal candlesticks just eat shit completely. And by that, I mean you had a really bearish candlestick, but the market just mooned. And you tend to find some pretty interesting areas if you pay attention to that, and that's probably it on an intraday basis. And where is that? Yeah, that's kind of 20% pullback into that area, bit more reasonable. If you're on the daily time frame hunting for a much better entry, then it's leaving something to be desired for the time being. We've added Tron, don't worry. ICX. I hope you don't CX. Not healthy, you should really move on. This is one of those where I think we can apply the same model as last time. That is to say, this has been downtrending for literally years. So maybe it's worth being a bit conservative before jumping in so you don't end up like one of those bag holders, right? And the level that visually becomes somewhat apparent is this 53 level here. prior range low, resistance, resistance, still hasn't been broken. So if you get a nice, meaty, full body candle above that, you're probably good to go into from range low to range high, right? That's probably a reasonable BTC denominated trade, and obviously the USD pair would look good at that point as well, moving basically like that from A range low to B range high. But otherwise, in the absence of that, you know, this is just a lower trading range, and market structure is shit and multi-year downtrend, whatever. You could argue short-term support like here type of deal. I'm fine with that, but if we're talking big swings that are, and again, the bar has to be set a bit higher because this thing's been going down forever, I still think the range play is probably the best you're gonna get. This is cool. Anything else, not cool. USD pair, it's choppy up here. This is arguably support at $1.60 to $1.40, like basically. Ooh, hello. The bottom of the range at around $1.50 might be puntable, right? Like, where is support right now? Well, it's right here. And this is one of those that if this support nukes, you'd probably want to get the fuck out and let it come back to where it came from, which is 70 cents. Рассмотри новые коины на Bitstamp, MKR, ZRX, KNC. У нас, кажется, мы эти уже записали. Надо будет подождать. Ну, подожди. Нет. MKR у нас нету. Вот. ZRX есть, KNC тоже есть. Okay. Yeah, so that's what Icon looks like. Range low support here. If it nukes, let it come back to its origin. Don't knife catch any of this nonsense. It just doesn't look attractive. Kusama. Number go up. So it's broken out, right? This thing's just bullish, right? Just making higher highs and higher lows. It's mooning, etc., etc. So in the same vein, your nearest support is always going to be the most recent range that it broke out from. So for me, that's comprised of two levels, 240, and where's support in this range? Around 220. So, and this is like an aggressive trend, right? Your accent is terrible. Да, чувак, точно, точно. Вообще, спасибо за комплимент. Russian girlfriend. Нихуя себе. Ладно, хуй с тобой. Yeah, support 220, 240. And again, this isn't the type of instrument that's been allowing for a lot of pullbacks. It generally just goes up and doesn't retest levels more than it has to, right? That's pretty obvious from the chart. So where is that nearest structure or level? It's 220 to 240 here. If that breaks, then yeah, I didn't really love a lot of the stuff below it. It's probably a much, much bigger pullback intact. But this thing is basically held every single breakout and retest that you can find. So betting against this holding doesn't make a ton of sense probabilistically. So pullback wise, that's what makes sense to me. Lina. I don't know. There's not a whole lot going on here. It's just kind of moving sideways, right? Yeah. Loom, I think, is similar in that regard. Yeah, this is one of those, it's kind of like an uglier version of ICX, whereby you have like just a multi-year downtrend, and it hasn't made a great case for reversing that, right? So it's always, you don't want to be bag holding these, because look at the opportunity cost when it comes to these things. It's really not worth it. So again, if for some reason, like you get your weekly breakout either through here or this highest close, doesn't really matter. Like a higher high on the weekly time frame, we could even just be conservative and pick this swing point at, yeah, this swing high, and say, look, this thing's been going down forever, but if it breaks weekly market structure, we probably get some sort of bounce from that. And so then your usual market structure toolkit comes out to play. You either make a higher high and then find support at the breakout level, or you make a higher high and then find support on some sort of higher low level. But ultimately, both bullish ideas are only triggered if market structure breaks. And I mean, look at this thing. That's the least we can ask it to do. So market structure breaks, maybe you get a bounce. Again, either higher low and moon or retest the moon. And you want it to come into your first trouble area is the breakout point here. Matic. Number go up a lot. Again, you'll know from the previous coins we talked about, this is one of those where you either bet on the daily pullback and potentially get locked out, or bet on intraday pullback and hope that it's not the start of a higher time frame nuke. So yeah, from an intraday point of view, the nearest kind of area of support, and again, I know this is the better level if it were to come back here, but we have to deal with what's closest to market a lot of the time. So the nearest level of support is this 4-hour range before the breakout, 30 cents-ish, right? 30 cents. And pulling back from high to low, that's already like a 30-40% pullback. There's kind of nothing else in between that I find hugely compelling. Like, I don't really see this as support, for example. Not one that I'd be interested in buying. So I think that's fine, actually. I think that lands kind of on the daily time frame structure-ish as well. So Matic, it's going up a lot. If you get a pullback into 30 cents, that's probably the first area you'd want to play for bounce. If that breaks, then probably something larger is afoot in terms of pullback city, and then you can talk about the daily range at 20 to 24 cents. So again, it's basically so these are your choices, right? Like when you get something that's going absolutely mental, like just up a lot, daily, weekly, breakout, the thing's just going fucking mental. You have two options or two type of models to work with, right? And that's kind of what I've been doing for a lot of these. The first one is that you buy the low time frame nuke. So that means just big dips or visible dips on the hourly, 4-hour, 15-minute, etc. And you pray it isn't a high time frame pullback. And the second bit of this, which is pray it isn't a high time frame pullback, you're doing that because a lot of the time the lower time frame supports are not visible or don't exist on those higher time frames. So you end up quote unquote buying air, right? Or structures which aren't as good as others. So reward, you can get on board a trend, and the risk is that you buy in the middle of nowhere and get run over because it might be a daily correction kicking in and your intraday levels get smoked. Option 2 is basically the reverse of that, right? You wait for that high time frame pullback into some sort of structure, but the risk of that is that you might never get filled and it could just keep going while pulling back to intraday structures, you know, and it goes without you. So those are your almost always. It's not perfect, like it's not one or the other, but for the most part, that's the balance or the compromise you'll have to consider. Am I buying the low time frame nuke and hoping it's not a high time frame pullback? Am I bidding the high time frame nuke? And praying it doesn't lock me out of the trend. Does this make sense to anyone? Rob, I think we'll look at XRP. Okay, cool. Glad it makes sense. Nulls. Yeah, I mean, same rules apply. Multi-year, rough-looking downtrend against Bitcoin. And again, you look at DOT, for example. How do I keep missing DOT? Do I just nuke? Oh no, it's down here. Okay, like you look at DOT BTC, right? This is bullish, right? This is what you want the coin to look like against Bitcoin. You look at Uni in the same vein, right? These are strong-looking charts. This is not what you want to see. Just purely from like an opportunity cost point of view, doesn't make sense, right? That said, I guess we can make the same old rehearsed argument that there's a range play available if it reclaims its point of breakdown, right? Something like that, you probably get a bounce into something like this, right? That might be on the table from A to B, but how it looks right now, I mean, come on. Orn, didn't we talk about this? I swear to God we talked about this. The only support that I actually don't mind is at around 12 bucks. Like, you've arguably got intraday or lower time frame range low-ish at around 15 to what? $15 to $17? Like, really close to market. That's your support. As for more meaningful pullback, do or die type of deal is 11 to 12. You can kind of see what that looks like. On the intraday, immediate range low, if you're like mega bullish and any pullback is good enough, 15 to 16 if you're intraday bounce. High time frame nuke and pray, 11 to 12. For now, it's just kind of not. I mean, it looks okay. It's moving sideways, right? It's range bound as it is. I'm struggling to come up with more than that. Guys, come on. You can do better than coins like these, right? Like, you... There has to be a better way. There just has to be. Goodness me. Yeah. No. I don't care that it's up 15%. Like... Reef. I think Reef had a bit of investment or some good news type of stuff today, unless I'm really confused. So I think this is one of the simple ones where if the news is as bullish as it appears, you'd expect a range, because it's technically a range, right? The prior breakout level is your support. The range high or the top is your resistance. In a bullish market, you expect support to hold and resistance to break. So whatever trigger you use for your breakout trades, daily close above, retest, whatever, through 50 cents, that's probably a decent continuation bet. If you're waiting to get lucky on your entries, this range low is probably the best you can hope for. Ren BTC. Chop. I just don't love this chart. That's about it. Ren USD. Yeah, I don't love this chart either. The only thing that could get me interested in this case, because I don't like these supports which form diagonally. Again, for those of you who've watched like some of my stuff, the best support levels form horizontally, where price has time to transact and there's volume, etc., versus those that are formed diagonally, right? So like, I don't love this kind of leg of price action. So the only thing that could get me really interested in this, if it starts rolling over, is a nuke into its larger breakout level at 0.4. So it was range bound all within here. You've got lows, highs, and then you get a big breakout which has been untested for the time being. If it wants to come home, that's a really good punt, just purely in terms of structure. And you know that if the top side of this range fails, then you probably trade towards what, like here-ish. So up here, just not interested. Rounded retest of where it came from. You know, football's coming home, whatever type of deal. That would be cool. Anything else, meh. Is there anything on lower time frames that I'm missing? Not really. It's the same. It's just the same ugly range. Again, this type of shit that I really hate, where price just kind of grinds diagonally for the most part. I don't like it that much, especially at least in crypto. Rook. Rook has broken everything, so this is making new lows. That's not typically where you want to knife catch. I'd say if it reclaims something, that's the only time you'd get something like a setup that's potentially risk-defined, worth taking, etc. In this case, potentially, you've got the lowest close level at 350s, it looks like. If you get some sort of capitulation, mega wick, whatever, but eventually strength, which breaks through its prior floor, then we could be in discussions to trade towards the old support. Something like that, like a level-to-level bread and butter type of trade from A into B. Anything else, for now, you're just knife catching this, not a fan. I think the coin is fundamentally very good, but just from a technical point of view, it needs to reclaim something, right? It needs to show me that it's bullish. Because otherwise, like, you buy this, for example, where do you put your stop, right? Or where do you know you're wrong? You can't know that. So at the very least, I mean, where does that daily level fall on the intraday timeframes? Yeah, I mean, they're kind of similar. Kind of similar. 350 to 360. So we know this is a daily level, and then we can kind of use these last lows before breakdown and make a bit of a box out of it. 350 to 360. Floor, 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 8 shit. If it reclaims that and looks really strong in doing so, not like it's just a retest or a wick, but just a real, like, evidence of imbalance at the level with bulls clearly winning. And then you have a risk-defined setup at the low, right? And then your target this level, and then who knows, maybe you can swing it towards the other boys. But for the time being, it just made new lows. I don't want to knife catch that. Prove some sort of strength for me by getting through 370-ish. Old lows, broken support, is resistance. Reclaim that, and you're probably good to go. And it's risk defined at that point. RSR had this pattern which kind of sucks when you see it. It's kind of something that I don't really like is all-time high breakouts which fail. That always looks rough. So in this case, whether you use the wick or the candle body doesn't really matter. You had to close above, then you had to close below, and the market's kind of finding resistance at that same level. Personally, the nearest daily support is this kind of breakout cluster at what looks like 06s. If it wants to come back there, that's really your first candidate for a bounce. Anything else is kind of meh. If it nukes, it fails through this level, that's when you start getting greedy and looking to pick it up around its range low. Maybe even here, as bad as that sounds. But if this is a bullish market that's going to keep going, your nearest support is 0.06. Yeah, and you can see on the intraday time frame, it's a very similar level. It's basically this little consolidation, the base before this whole big move up. That's your untested support. Cover. Litecoin. Oh, BNT. Neo. Zek's on the list. Pretty sure. Yeah, that's RSR. Rune just kind of trends up, right? Yeah. Honestly, this is the kind of grindy diagonal. I'm just gonna be completely frank. This is the kind of grindy diagonal price action that I'm shit at trading. So I'm not gonna tell you how to trade it because I have no idea. That's it. It's the best I can do. Only if it were to come back towards this little kind of horizontally range low, closer to around $3, that's where I actually have something that's worth talking about. But anything else, just not my cup of tea. Sol. I think we talked about Sol before. It's one of those up only, at the moment at least, Sam coins. The level that I like, or the area that I think needs to hold, is $10 to $11. At the moment, the closest we've had to that level is this kind of really short-term wick retest, but it's just been moving sideways since then on. So catching a nuke into 10 would probably be my ideal entry, but generally, as long as this range holds, the trend is probably intact and good to go. Serum, yeah, I mean, look, it's retesting its breakout, or is close to retesting its breakout level here. The price action before this big engulfing breakout. So this one's pretty straightforward. The origin of the breakout has to hold. If it doesn't, get the fuck out. And you can see that no matter what time frame you look at, daily, weekly, 2-day, etc. It's basically you had a big range. The market broke out. Market broke out from that range. And if it's coming back, that same range needs to hold. If it doesn't, then it's fucked. It's basically the whole cluster setup we talk about all the time, whereby impulse, consolidate, impulse, comes back. If it comes back and doesn't bounce there, it's probably going to go a lot lower, right? So those are your must-hold type of areas. Sushi, oh man, this thing has been really weird. You had actually a lot, like you basically had Coinbase listing, and the market didn't give a shit. And it's just been really grindy. And even last week we discussed where is the range high resistance on this thing, and we just didn't know, right? I don't have an answer for that. I don't know where the range high is. Is it this level? Is it this level? Like, do I just extend this? It's not entirely clear. And look, if you were working with those levels earlier, you're probably getting chopped up. So it's very kind of grindy move sideways. In this case, I don't think breakout trading it makes a ton of sense. My trade here would probably be bounce, like nuke or die trade at the, sorry, nuke or die, great set of choices, right? Bounce or die trade at the range low at around $12, maybe wicks lower, and if that area breaks, then probably get out until something else. That's the only thing I can see on Sushi. You kind of just see is this grindy, I don't mean to draw a rising wedge, but grindy type of price action, moving diagonally rather than horizontally, at least leaning that way recently. So in that case, I don't have a clear reason or area to trade a breakout. So in that case, I have to wait for nukes into support or just for something else to form on the chart. So yeah, support $12 to $13. As long as that's intact, you generally expect to continue to trade higher. So that's kind of the only level that makes sense for me, both from a trading point of view, but also a directional bias point of view. SXP BTC, not a whole lot going on, kind of retesting the top of the range and reacting to it, so not seems okay relative to Bitcoin. As for the USD pair, same thing, right? Bitcoin pair at its range high, USD pair at its range high as well. In that case, your nearest support is just under $2 in terms of what's close to price. You've got resistance up here, support up here. You ideally want price to hold, and if the market's bullish, eventually break out. If support at 1.9 fails, I'll probably get the fuck out until, as bad as it looks, $1 or thereabouts. But yeah, pretty clear range in the USD pair and the BTC pair for the time being. Theta. Again, we're back to our model. Are you buying the high time frame nuke, or are you buying the intraday pullback, right? So in this case, where's the high time frame nuke? It's the breakout level, right? Here in the Bitcoin pair. That's where your high time frame nuke is. If we look on the intraday, it's kind of aligned. You could arguably have the pre-breakout cluster as your intraday structure, but basically it's in the middle of nowhere right now, and you've got support percentage-wise. I mean, 10% and the really good level about 16 to 17% away. Me personally, for something that looks like this, I don't want to knife catch it on the intraday type of thing. If it's bullish and it trades back to this breakout area, probably decent for a bounce play or punt. Even measuring from high to low, that's already like a 30 to 40% pullback. So plenty going on there. I'm made slightly uncomfortable by the fact that this makes sense, but then this also makes a ton of sense. So, you know, maybe it wicks to here and then closes above. You never know with altcoins. They can really overextend through technical structure, but ultimately respect it on a higher time frame closing basis. You always got to be a bit more careful. Like, if you're going to be greedy anywhere with bids, it makes so much more sense with altcoins, right? They're less liquid, so as a result, the distance that wicks can travel, or where the types of prices that you can get, will be much more favorable if you're stink bidding. Say theta the way Don Alt does. How does he say it? Theta? I don't know how he says it. Elon Musk. That I can do. Yeah, I think the USD pair is pretty similar, right? Your nearest daily structure on theta is at around $4.50. Right? That's probably the closest you're going to get. As for intraday structure, it actually aligns with that as well. I'm not hugely keen on knife catching anything here. The nearest support that I've got is between $4 and $4.50, and that would be a 40 to 50% pullback from the highs. Does that mean it can't reverse somewhere here? No, it just means for me, the only structures that are worth trading or putting risk on are a bit further away. He says it like tether. Theta? Does he say theta? I don't know. He's gonna hate me. Hope he doesn't watch this replay. Tomo gives you FOMO. Choppy BTC pair. Not a whole lot going on. Don't like it. Right. Coming off resistance. Whatever. Just yeah. Maybe USD pair is something better for us. So USD pair is attempting to break from the range and essentially retesting it. So again, same old thing. Where is the period of sideways? It's essentially all of this, right? And then you have an attempted break from that consolidation, break from value, whatever. Typically, if you're doing business on a back within a range, it's either at the upper boundary or the lower boundary. So the bullish case would need a daily close above, what is that, 2.5, give or take, $2.40. Daily close above there, probably good for continuation just higher. That's like your standard bullish retest type of model. If it closes below or generally finds resistance on the upper boundary, that generally suggests a failed breakout. So this ends up being, because again, the range is here. Highest close, resistance, lowest close, support, right? So if you get a break from value or break from the range, the most bullish case is if the upper boundary acts as support. If that fails, that means all those range breakout buyers within here are having a rough time, right? And so those breakout traders are trapped and the market exerts pressure on them by trading lower, or at least they're forced to make a decision as the market trades lower. Longs closing turn into shorts at market, and that's where you get your added sell pressure from. So this is your range. Bullish case, range high holds, number go up. Bullish case number 2 is if the range high doesn't cut it, you get a chance at redemption at the range low at around the $1.50 to play some sort of bounce. If that fails, I'd probably get the hell out until either this consolidation or just much lower generally. Again, if the market's bullish, as it has been on the way up, right? Retest, work, retest, work, retest, work, etc. You don't want to see shifts in that type of behavior. This would be a shift in that type of behavior, which means you give it another chance at support. If that's not enough, then this whole consolidation ends up being distribution-y more than anything else. Does that make sense for Tomo? Like how it makes sense to look at those ranges and where to do business if the market decides to come back? Is that helpful at all? That's how I view it anyway. It's not like the only way, but it's what works for me. Oh man, my throat's getting sore. Hold on, let me get a drink real quick. Okay. Sparkling, blackcurrant, and cherry by Sainsbury's. There we go. Cheers, chat. Happy Friday. Sparkling water. Flavored, of course. All right. Okay, Tomo, goodbye. Uma. I swear we talked about this. Am I losing my mind? Did we talk about Uma, chat, or no? Yes or no? Have we talked about this coin, or is this just like all the same, like a bunch of these other ones? Oh, fuck's sake, we haven't. Okay, I guess that kind of helps to some point, or to some extent, because it's the same old DeFi model, right? You had a breakdown. If it reclaims the breakdown, good. If it doesn't, then it's probably not worth your time, or you wait for a nuke. So again, the formula kind of high time frame is positive, but short-term market structure break. Okay, so high time frames look good, right? It's trending up, but in the short term, you've got a market structure break. What are our choices, right? And for me, at least, there are two main models, as I've said. Number one is that you reclaim the nuke. Right? That's good. The whole premise for bearishness evaporates if you reclaim the nuke, or at least it's far less likely to play out, and there you get your continuation set up without having to wait for a deeper pullback. Option two is to bid the high time frame nuke. So the market's still bullish, but it may have to pull back not on an intraday basis, but on a higher time frame basis. So we look for support levels that are much lower down. You kind of get your deeply discounted market, so to speak. So in this case, where's option number one with the reclaim the nuke? I think it's more or less here at just under $30. Support, resistance again, pretty clear level. If you want to be conservative, you can just draw out the whole consolidation of the range. So this, and say, yeah, if it trades above whatever 31.5, this is resistance. If it does just something really impulsive, clear imbalance that is won by the buyers, if you will, basically break this meaningfully, that's good to go. That's setup number one. Whereas setup number two, well, high time frame nuke, it'd probably mean filling in a lot of this and trading back to the origin of the breakout closer to $12. And again, that'd be another 50% discount, so the market would probably look quite rough if that were to be the case. So yeah, the bullish one with the market generally holding up decently well is here, trading back above resistance. The other nuke setup, which is bounce or die type of deal, is at the prior breakout origin. Where it is right now, I mean, arguably there's something here, but I don't like it. I either want it higher, I'll pay up for a better entry, or lower, play the high time frame support. UTK. We talked about Rook. We can use the 2-day chart just because it fits my bias. I think we can make an argument that, I mean, this thing is trending up, right? Higher highs, higher lows, it's bullish. Generally, if in a strong instrument, you want the breakout levels to trade. The breakout levels to hold. So we can take this prior swing high here, where a lot of this kind of a nuke reclaim setup as well, right? You had a big leg down, and it looks like the market's finding support there at around 43 to 46 cents. As long as that's intact, continuation is likely. Anything below that, then we have to deal with kind of the range low at 30 cents, maybe the breakout level. It's just far less attractive at that point, right? So we've got a bit of a range made up from two levels. The range high, which is currently being retested as support, is around 43 to 46 cents. If that fails, it kind of becomes a whatever that other chart was, where you fail the range high and your next bet is the range low. Okay, so support is here. Excuse me. Support is here. If that fails, it's closer to 30 cents. Generally range bound. You expect it to at least hold, if not break higher in a strong looking market. We can add some color to those levels. So range high, immediate support, 42, 46. If that fails, your final kind of reasonable area for a bounce or for this market to redeem itself, is at the 30 handle. Anything below that, then you've got like a high time frame break in market structure, blah, blah, blah. Not good, not fun. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. Vet. Yeah, it's up. Number go up. I don't know how I feel about this. Again, it's one of those like... I mean, we can keep it reasonably simple, right? Daily breakout. In a strong market, daily breakouts should hold and shouldn't be fake outs. So we can just take the top side of this range. That should hold. If it doesn't, then you've got an objective in the form of the range. Probably close to here at that point. So again, the same type of model applies, right? You have a range form. The market makes a break of it, and it's trading here. If it starts to pull back, your first area for continuation is the range high from which to play a bounce. If that fails, then you wait until it reaches the other side of the range to play for a bounce. What a lot of traders just burn a lot of money doing is to have a breakout level, which is really significant, right? You get a big breakout from that level, it comes back, and then it breaks, right? It fails to bounce there, and then you know, like, okay, if it's going to make a higher low or just trade within that same consolidation, your bounce levels, the best one is probably at the bottom of the range, right? It's faked the range high, it probably makes its way towards the range low. What a lot of traders will do is, even if the top side fails, they'll buy this, they'll buy this, they'll buy this, they'll buy this, and actually run out of ammo by the time it actually gets to a range low. Like, if you're purely dealing within consolidations, like well-defined boundaries, value areas, whatever you want to call them, you almost always, with very few exceptions, want to be doing business at the extremes. At the range high itself or slightly above it, at the range low itself or slightly below it. Anything in the middle is where you burn your money, right? So applying that here makes sense. You either want to do business at the range high for your bullish continuation, bounce, whatever, or towards the range low as your final support. Anything kind of in between is just not as good, right? VTC. I mean, come on. Again, multi-year downtrend, wait for it to break weekly market structure, then maybe we can talk. But why are you worried about dead coins? There's so much new stuff going on. Snap out of it. Rob says, Craig, what is the like target this week? I think 200 for my suffering and agony would be cool. If not, that's fine as well. Haven, I think we have a bit of a weekly consolidation on our hands, made up of the two highest close and weekly close candles. This is quite a long standing range. Again, these are weekly candles, right? So this has been going on for a while. I really think these are I mean, you're not going to trade the bearish side of this because that's not how you trade Haven. I don't think it's listed in a ton of places. So for the bullish side of things, it's approaching resistance now, and it's still generally moving sideways. If it breaks the range high after like consolidating for months, that's probably when you get your meaningful high time frame expansion towards the old high, and then who knows, maybe new highs plus. For the time being, closer to resistance than it is to support. If it breaks resistance, then we can smash it, or if it comes to support, then it's worth smashing, but buying it right into resistance, probably not the best choice from those available options. XRP, it's just moving sideways. It's just moving sideways. I think there's a whole lot else to add. You had some really nice, technically significant levels at around 30 cents, but they failed to propel the market to anything. And again, it's a question of opportunity cost. Like, does this look shit? No. In a market where everything is melting up, is sideways shit in relative terms? Yes, right? And the first way you can assess that is by looking at XRP against Bitcoin. Like, do you want to be in this? And it just shows you how much you're underperforming the market at that point. So yeah, maybe there's some sort of litigation, bounce, moon candle, whatever. But again, it's a question of opportunity cost, and it's just why be in stuff that's purely moving sideways. XTZ, this no. Just not there yet. Not there yet. I remember it up here. We discussed it on Technical Roundup. This being the range high, then being a range low. I mean, this trades pretty well when it comes to its technicals. It's just the technicals have been bearish. I think if you want to make a good case against BTC. Oops, no, not what I was going for. Even just the most, yeah. This 1K level. Then if this breaks out, you'll have a daily significant break in market structure, and maybe you can get something going. But again, why create this burden for yourself and look at shit which looks like this as opposed to charts which almost look like the opposite of this, where they've only gone up? It just doesn't make a ton of sense. So against Bitcoin, not a whole lot jumps out, and that's reasonably self-explanatory. And yeah, the USD pair is choppy for the time being. Like, you can see on the USD pair, the recurring pattern is that you get a breakout, but it doesn't lead to anything. It's that same scenario where it breaks above, falls back below. Breaks above, falls back below, right? It's not the type of... I mean, it fits perfectly with what we were talking about here, right? The range high, the range low. If it breaks, it should bounce here. If it doesn't, you wait until for it to reach the range low. Goodness me. You just see that over and over again. Break, nope. Break, nope. I don't like that type of behavior. If you want to scoop some up, like towards the range low, potentially, but not up here for me personally. So you avoid trading the ranges, just the breakouts, nukes mostly? No, I mean, look, if I'm trading a range, I'm not saying don't trade the range itself. I'm just saying position at the extremes where you're going to get your best opportunities in terms of risk reward, just not in the middle of the range itself, like at structure within a range. I mean, this is like on the cusp of making new lows, right? So it's always worth being careful with these because there's kind of no flaw in those sorts of cases. I suppose eyeballing this thing, you could make a basic argument of you've broken support at, what is that, $3.50. Let it do its thing, capitulate, trade through this, spike, whatever. If it gets bought up back above the level, right, something like that, then you have a play from the reclaimed range low at that point with the stop set for you, at least it's risk defined, and then you play it towards the range high at around $4 or wherever that may be. Then if you want to trade the breakout, you need like a subsequent break in market structure and blah blah blah. But for the time being, it's kind of like Rook, where you have broken support. It looks like it's going to make, again, forgetting the listing price, it looks like it's going to make new lows. So knife catching that just really sucks because you don't know where the floor is. In that case, wait for it to do something, then you have your stop set for you, and you have at least a range play available, if not something else, but not right now, if that makes sense. Algo, yeah, again, it's one of those DeFi ones. The high time frames are up, the low time frames nuked. What do? You either buy the nukey daily support, or you buy the reclaim, generally, right? In this case, the reclaim is reasonably self-explanatory. Here, around the $1.30 to $1.40. If it does that, you have a great trade towards the new all-time high, but then price discovery, probably $2 plus. Happy days. As for where is the nukey high time frame support? Bit of a tricky one. Probably weekly structure, which is pretty far away in this type of area, right? And that's quite a big pullback. That's like an extra 30 to 40%. So that would be shitty for algo holders to some extent. So you're definitely hoping for the reclaim scenario to play out. Again, you can hopefully see that my models are general. I mean, models is a very fancy word for some TA bullshit, but they're pretty consistent, right? Like, is there something to reclaim? How's it trading relative to a range? Like, it's just using the same few tips and tricks applied to different charts, right? Nothing changes. The rules of the game stay the same. So, assuming no one wants this to... Yeah, I mean, the macro whatever type of pullback level would probably have to be back here. Ooh, that's actually way further than I thought. You know what? I probably don't even like the nuke scenario now that I consider it. The only way I would consider getting long algo would be this, as described. The reclaim scenario. Here. Show me that. Happy days. Target. All-time high plus. Anything else, I just don't... Again, the same old diagonally shit. I don't love it, so I'd rather not speculate on it. XMR, BTC, privacy coins really been struggling. At least you have really nice levels. So 62s on XMR, I think in the very same vein as a lot of these other ones, could potentially open up a range trade, right? Lowest close, highest close, bearish retest, trades lower. If it trades through that area, you probably have a trade towards the range high, if not potentially higher. So that would be a kind of standard A to B, but down here doesn't look good. Obviously better against USD, which makes sense because the BTC pair has been consolidating while Bitcoin's generally been going up. It looks like it kind of did the test of support you'd want from a higher time frame point of view. If you're more on the continuation side of things, I guess something like this would make sense. Taking the most recent cluster, 228, 240. If it were to do something like that, then it's one of those all-time high plus setups. That would make sense. But for now, while this area, while it's testing this area from the underside, that's resistance more than there's support, right? So that is cool. Anything else, kind of meh. I don't like how, where the risk is in that type of setup. Have a good weekend as well, Michael. TRX BTC. I mean, Justin has really been trying to fall on the right side of the PR stuff, but yeah, not a whole lot going on here. Again, this stuff has been underperforming Bitcoin for a very, very long time, unlike the newer coins which have been outperforming Bitcoin for this cycle. So unless it wants to, you know, like reclaim the range, do something like that, that would be cool. But for the time being, wasted opportunity for the most part, in my opinion. Again, this is kind of what you're fighting against. And yeah, USD chart kind of just looks shitty. Potentially only interested if it comes back to the breakout level, just because the level's so nice, right? This is like one big range, right? That's the thing. This is one big range, and the same old rules apply. The range high, you play for a bounce. If it fails, you wait for it to head to the range low. Up here, not seeing a whole lot that I like. This is cool. This is cool. Meh. Dot BTC. You actually had your first meaningful break of support here on Dot through 66s, 68s. So I think in terms of outperforming Bitcoin, if it reclaims that, it's probably going to set new highs. As simple as that, right? Something of this vein would probably look cool. As for levels to catch a nuke, if that sort of thing happens, I don't like a lot of this. It'd probably be towards the range low, to be completely honest with you. The extreme of where this first base after the impulse started before the rest of the move up. So reclaim, good to go. Hit mega support, good to go. Anything else, meh. Not a huge fan. I think the same type of reasoning applies to the USD pair. There's just been mega sideways. I don't even want to look for levels here. As for the high time frame pullback structure, I just don't like it up here. I don't like it up here. The basic answer is I don't know. I mean, the one that obviously stands out is here, but that's a pretty sizable, again, 50% type of pullback, which would mean the market's really getting battered. If I was scrolling through this as part of my watch list, I'd probably just do what I did right now. Take a look, say meh, and move on to the next one. Can you tell me what coins you're in right now? Bitcoin, ETH, FTT. eGold is at daily support or 2-day support, but at like 139s. I think it makes sense as a level, but this is just not a chart that looks great, or at least one that I like. Yeah, no. I just don't like it. Sometimes it'd be that way, right? I just don't like it. I would never trade this. So I'm not going to pretend to make stuff up to seem intelligent. Uni BTC. It's retesting the top side of its breakout, its most recent breakout. So if the market's bullish, that's the first area you'd look for a bounce. So like at support right now, which is pretty important. Weekly breakout level. You can see that pretty clearly on the intraday time frames as well, where you have this top side area, big break, rounded retest right now, and same old range rules apply. If the top side fails, you probably want to let it go until it reaches the bottom side as well. So Uni BTC at support, Uni USD pretty much at support as well. Under 30 is where I'd have my level. I've got mine at around 28. So honestly, Uni, out of all the ones we've looked at, probably looking better probability-wise for a bounce than a lot of these other ones. BTC pair, close to support. USD pair, close to support. 28, really my line in the sand for this sort of deal. So yeah, that's definitely one to watch out of all of these. We looked at Dodo. FTM, oh no, it's making new lows. Well, it's poking around its lows. I think, again, we can come up with a decent level for it to reclaim to potentially show some strength, which is this level here, around 43s. And you can even see it very cheekily. I mean, it goes back even further than that. It's a really big area here. So you can essentially use that as your directional bias line in the sand type of deal. Anything below the big red line, especially because the market likes it, right? I'm not just making this stuff up, you can just see it. Anything below here, who knows where the bottom is, doesn't really matter, doesn't look good. A strong, full-bodied, healthy reclaim of it, you probably get a range play at least towards, I don't know, the top of the range here, under 50 cents. So from A to B, that's cool. But generally, long story short, below red, bad, above red, probably good. Sometimes it's just that simple. Maker, I don't love this level, but it is support. It's at its very range low. So if you're playing any sort of even low time frame bounces, this is really the type of area that has to hold. If it doesn't, if this makes a lower low through here, I don't know where support is anywhere below that. I just don't like it. So this is kind of a must hold for Maker against Bitcoin. As for the USD pair, is it at support as well? Not really. I don't see a lot going on here. For the USD pair, we can apply our standard type of DeFi model. Are we playing a reclaim or are we playing a nuke, right? Playing the reclaim would mean trading back above 2,500, right? Like that. That's our reclaim setup. The nuke setup is anywhere kind of within this consolidation. The lower, the better, obviously, in terms of entry, but generally, you'd want this to hold. Specifically, again, because that's such a big box. Upper boundary of the range here. Probably lower boundary of the range here. So setup 1, reclaim it, good to go. Setup 2, nuke into support. Where it is right now, neither, so not interested. Cover. I think the weekly time frame is decent here. We can just be pretty, go back to first principles to some extent and just take this highest weekly close and say that this breakout is valid if / as long as the weekly closes are above the highest close of the red box, which is around just under $5, right? 470, thereabouts. Again, we can treat it as a range. This is the range high. You get a ton of resistance at the level, as we can see with all these wicks and closes below. If this closes above, that's your first sign the level's broken. As long as no closes back below it, probably continuation towards price discovery or whatever, right? Anything below red, either on a closing basis or losing it, having closed above it, that sucks. So you get a bit of a line in the sand at the range high here. LTC, BTC, not yet, right? This is just such a, look at this chart, right? It's just straight down, well, not straight down, but multi-year downtrend, no shifts in market structure for some time, really needs to do more to prove its case. Arguably, this rally right now is into resistance here. I think you could even make a range out of this. This is like eternal sideways, but more down than up sort of deal. Broke the range high, didn't achieve anything. This could potentially be a case of break the range low, didn't achieve anything, and it just trades within here ad infinitum, right? You see that a lot. We talked about ranges also, where you get a break of the range, it fails, and trades back within. A lot of the time, it'll mirror the failed breakout on the range high at the range low, and then ultimately revert back to the mean, or where kind of the value area is, right there. So, nothing, break, failed to accept, break, failed to accept, choppy, nothing interesting for now. I'm okay with the bull div, it's fine. The bull div needs to actually achieve something, right? Because the argument is the bull div is going to lead to higher prices. Well, for me, context matters. Like, okay, it led to higher prices, but where did those higher prices end up, so to speak? If those higher prices end up at resistance, nothing's really changed, right? Jujutsu Kaisen Friday? Absolutely, Leonard. Or Leon Hard. I'm going to say Leonard because it makes more sense. Yeah, I think Litecoin USD looks better, obviously. I mean, at some resistance, but the BTC pair needs to shape up for me to really take an interest. BNT, that's kind of back from the dead to some extent. I'd say it's in an area of resistance now, just with where the prior high came in. I don't mind this level. I mean, these are really big. We can probably trim that down a little bit. Okay, we can actually keep this pretty straightforward. If you're bullish BNT against Bitcoin, you get a massive level at the former range low, turn support, turn resistance, turn support, turn resistance, etc., etc. Like this area here. Specifically, we can actually cut it down a little bit. I mean, this is a huge level, right? Talk about a line in the sand. Previous range low, resistance, resistance, led to its kind of recent low or all-time low, whatever. Again, resistance at the level, then clean break of that. This is really your line in the sand. If you're betting on BNT, this should hold. Or if you want to be really forgiving, this consolidation should hold. Anything below that, I'd probably get the fuck out the way, because at that point, the best level on the chart has failed to offer a bounce. But yeah, really nice level on BNT. BTC? Do we have confluence? Is the USD pair coming into support? Potentially. Potentially. With up here at 6.5 to what? 5? As its former range. So there could be a potential, just like Uni had a confluence with its BTC pair landing at support and USD pair landing at support, there's a reasonable case to be made for BNT doing the same. Why am I so lost? Oh, I typed in BNB. Goodness me. We looked at algo. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about, right? This is the kind of confluence you generally want to see to not guarantee anything, but increase or improve your probabilities. USD support is at 6.5 at the top of the range, with the BTC pair support also at 12k or whatever that is. So when or if these line up, there's probably a decent opportunity there relative to other markets to play some sort of bounce or continuation. But we also know, at least on the USD pair, our classic range principles apply. The bounce idea is premised on the range high. If it fails, we get the fuck out and then bet again at the range low. If the range low fails, then we get the hell out generally. Okay. But this is really clean technically. Neo. Oh, don't know where this comes from. Let's take a look. Monthly. Yeah, okay, I know where that comes from. Same thing as, unfortunately, a lot of these other coins. Downtrends for absolutely ages. Multi-year downtrends, whatever. In this case, you've got previous support, retested resistance, not much. If you want to get bullish here, close above, then you have a lot of space between the reclaimed range low and the range high. Like an easy 2x, so to speak. But for the time being, resistance is doing its job, so it looks weak against Bitcoin. And the USD pair looks better, obviously, than the BTC pair, because Bitcoin's been hard to outperform, but has its own range or resistance to deal with at around 50 bucks. If you're bullish this, the pullback, which is reasonably defined or attractive, is the breakout range, whose upper boundary is at 19, lower boundary closer to 15. But even then, if you're looking at this as support, and you look at the Bitcoin pair and you're just underperforming the market by holding a ton of Neo, kind of worth reconsidering, right? And if anything, if that BTC pair setup takes off, the USD pair setup will mega moon as well. So in either case, it sort of makes sense to wait for some sort of confluence between the two, like we had on Uni and Bancor, for example. We'll do 3 more. Eng, CRV, and Link. That's it. Eng, CRV, and Link. Eng BTC at resistance, at its range high. I probably wouldn't buy it here myself. Yeah, that's against Bitcoin. It's at resistance. Is there anything on the USD pair that maybe might change my mind? Not particularly. So yeah, again, it's the whole, am I buying a high time frame correction or low time frame nuke? Your low time frame nuke is this range at 1.5 to 1.7 is the closest one. Your high time frame pullback, I mean, actually you've got some confluence at this 1.7 level, but yeah, that's probably the nearest support to market. Like, where is support? I'm an Eng and I'm scared. I would say 1.7 is the closest area you've got, and it comes back to that same principle of price moves sideways and then breaks up, right? Moves sideways generally and then breaks up. If the market's bullish, that same sideways area should be what's holding as support. Okay, I'd just be a bit cautious, and that's one of the reasons that BTC pairs are helpful, because when the USD pair is just kind of in price discovery, making new highs, etc., you can find relative levels of support resistance from the BTC pair, which is cool, right? I think Link BTC is at its kind of do or die type of level, which is this previous breakout, and it's been a bit choppy there, but you had basically huge retest which fails and then gets reclaimed and now being retested as support. So if Link is bullish, the weekly just has to hold above this level, because again, surprise surprise, we get our range type of scenario. This is the range high, this is the range low. We look for a bounce at the top of the range. If it fails, we get the fuck out until the bottom of the range. So this is the bounce zone, if there ever was one. So in the most bullish scenario, you want that to hold. So maybe a daily close through here or something, just some sort of weekly close above is what's kind of necessary for this thing to keep going. Okay, hour 50. I think that's the longest stream ever. I've certainly had enough of going through these. Hopefully it was helpful to someone, even if your specific coin wasn't charted, which would be surprising. But if it wasn't, I tried to sprinkle in some educational tidbits, range tips, finding levels, contextualizing pullbacks, all that sort of stuff. So I hope that was, at least that bit was something you can take away. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. A kind reminder that Technical Roundup is brought to you by Blockfolio. We're working on some cool stuff with them to give you better deals if you decide to get the mobile app, but the mobile app is great either way. Make sure to check it out. But we'll have some reasonable incentives in the near future, I hope. I'm tired as fuck. It's time to go watch Jujutsu Kaisen. Hope everyone has a safe weekend, and I will see you for the Monday stream. Take care, trade safe, and until next time.